Hello, I'll keep this brief. I have a lot of really interesting conversations with my friend Joe Franco, and I decided to record one on the topic of recession, economic uncertainty, and how to navigate these times. So, without further ado, this is that conversation. And by the way, if you like this conversation, you can also check out her channel as well. She has a podcast. I'll leave links to everything below. All right, enjoy. Okay, so there's a ton of talk about recession, if we're in a recession already or a recession that's coming. I guess my first question would be, do you think like hard times are coming? Do you feel like shit is brewing?
Shit has been brewing.
Yeah.
Shit's been brewing.
Yeah.
Inflation, it's affecting so many people. I don't know if you've looked at tickets, like flights or whatever. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's so expensive. And this is like the frivolous stuff of life. Because if you go to the grocery store, like shit's bad.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not looking good.
So do you feel like next year's gonna be a tough year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you?
Yes. And I don't want to be, I'm not like a doomsday, usually I'm not the one that's like, the sky is falling. And I don't think the sky is falling. Like recessions and difficult times are super normal. And honestly, if anything, I think there's too much financial, artificially propping things up.
What do you mean?
I think there's forces at work that try to keep the economic system that exists
So
today
it's fluff.
to keep going, and it's getting more inflated.
Yeah, so the bubble's gonna burst.
Exactly.
It's just too much
Exactly.
aid of money being pumped in, money being printed,
Exactly.
inflation. It's getting worse and worse. No one knows how
Right.
to stop this moving. This
Right.
huge train that's been getting faster and faster.
Exactly. And so I think it's normal to have a recession. And I do see this brewing, and it's not just like scary YouTube videos that I've been seeing.
What are they saying?
You can tell, so inflation's out of control, and that has led to the stock market crashing because the Fed is raising interest rates. There's an incredible amount of debt, like an insane, scary amount of debt.
Yep.
And so I've just been thinking a lot about simple ways to, I guess, prepare. I don't know if you have shifted modes. I have, because, buying this apartment was a big learning lesson for me. I overextended
He was
myself.
calling I'm like, it's gonna be okay.
And
let time pass.
Yeah, and it was a big leap, and I don't regret it, but it financially stretched me in a way I've never
Had
had.
to, yeah.
And I learned a lot, but now all of a sudden I'm being way more conservative. Like, money that I make, I'm saving. I'm trying to pay down any debt that I have, and be just more conservative about spending in general. Because I've realized the power of having a little bit of padding to be able to sleep well at night,
Yeah.
And I think, I was telling you this before, but I think that 3 to 6 months of savings is already great if you have the luxury and ability to build that up, but I think it should be more. I think it should be minimum 12 months. That's how I'm approaching things for myself, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, also there's the side of entrepreneurship, right? So they suggest 3 to 6 months of savings, personal savings, as like a regular person. This is what, when you speak to a financial advisor, they'll
Right.
say, have at least 6 months,
Right.
When you're an entrepreneur, what my friends in the financial world say, they say have 6 months for your business and 6 months for your personal, which would mean a year.
Yeah.
So really what that looks like when you're an entrepreneur, which means you live a spiky lifestyle
Yeah.
financially.
Yeah.
Some months we get tons of opportunities. Some
Yeah.
months you don't get paid for 6 months.
Or,
That's
yeah, exactly,
happened
a
to
string
me.
of months, yeah.
Even if you do deals, there's no guarantee that the payment's going to come in on time.
Yeah.
Have you had months where it's I literally have
Totally.
had months, for 6 months I did not get one paycheck. And then 1 month I got all of the money at once. So
Was it the beginning of this year?
that happened at the beginning of the year, and it's happening now. I haven't gotten a paycheck in maybe 3 months, but I'm working so much. So before the end of the year, I'll just get a lump sum of money. So
Yeah.
I think as an entrepreneur, it's just trained me. I've been doing this for 10 years. So have you, right?
Yeah. Well, let's see here, 10 years?
6,
8,
7.
8, 7, 8.
So when you start, it's super daunting to even know that you need to be responsible for your financial well-being, because
Yeah.
if you don't wake up and you don't work, you're not activating any money coming into your account. Then you have employees, then you have assistants,
Yeah.
and so then the overhead gets bigger. In short, I think as an entrepreneur you have to be a little bit more cautious. I read this book, The Psychology of Money, and they said that
Yes, you recommended that, and I read it, and
Did
I
you read
loved
it?
it. Yeah, I loved it.
Really great book,
And
Psychology
that's what I
of
was
Money.
saying, having a buffer, that's a big part of that book. It's you don't realize, you can treat yourself like a machine and optimize the perfect investment strategy or whatever, but you have to consider that you're an emotional creature. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I need to be conservative about my spending because I have periods where I'm a little bit less productive, or I want to feel like, oh my God, I don't have to go and find a job to be able to continue to do this.
Right.
That for me is having made it, right? Like that I get to continue to do these things that I'm passionate about. And so in a sense, making it isn't making $1 million more.
No, it's like knowing thyself, knowing your lifestyle,
Exactly.
knowing like what keeps you up at night, what lets you sleep like a baby. And it's like self-analysis, but also like looking at your individual situation, right? Like I come from a background where I'm supporting some people, as in like my mom, right? Like it's not just me. And I think that makes me be even more conservative because if I crumble, we all crumble.
Right.
And that's just not an option. So as far as like talking about this recession and like the things that are coming up or that are already happening, I'm just being a work machine.
Yeah.
Like I'm literally just stacking up my acorns.
Yeah.
My grandma used to call me formiga. In Portuguese, it means ant.
Yeah.
So there's a little fairy tale in Brazil. It's called A Cigana e a Formiga, so the cicada and the ant. And the story goes that the ant is working all year round, like carrying things on her back.
Yeah.
She's bringing things to her house. She's building her house, making it cozy. And the cigana, the cicada, is singing all summer long, singing with the guitar, having a blast. And then when winter comes, the ant is still doing it, working. By the time winter comes, the cicada is like knocking on the ant's door, cold.
Help me out.
Help me. And the ant lets the cicada in and has enough food for both of them. And my grandma used to call me the formiga because that's how I've always been. It's like I prepare whether there's a recession coming or not. I'm like always just in that slightly paranoid mindset financially,
totally.
just in case shit happens.
I so relate to that. So the cicada in this example is Crédit Suisse, and the ant is the government like bailing out these giant banks that are in trouble.
But it's unsustainable, right? Like
it's unsustainable.
That's where
but you
shit
can
hits
apply
the
that on
fan.
the individual level, and I think that's, I gotta say, being a saver has opened so many doors for me. Like when I was working as a freelancer, like I didn't have a lot of money, but I was trying to save whatever I could make, and I didn't know even what I was saving for.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's the mindset that I've been in for most of my life, and I think not a lot of people have that. And when you read books like The Psychology of Money or even investment books, you start realizing a pattern in people who have wealth is people who save before they need to save.
Yeah.
It's simply that. It's like, and there's a weird psychological correlation with, like, there are research reports on this, and I've been doing research on this, that like if somebody's offered $5 right now or $10 in 2 weeks, they will take the $5 now because we're just wired for immediate gratification.
Yeah, totally.
But the actual winning formula when it comes to many things in life, especially money, it's like delayed gratification.
Totally. And I was just gonna say that like I saved, didn't know what I was saving for, and ultimately I ended up living on those savings when I took the leap to do YouTube. Now I didn't do that to make more money. I was just like, I really want to do this
And be creative.
and hopefully I could break even and get to do this and then gain by, and guess what?
Which
It worked
is
out.
insane, like the self-investment.
It worked out incredibly, and I'm actually making a lot more money now than back then, but
let's
again,
talk
that
about
wasn't
this,
the point.
the self-investment piece of it too. It's
Yeah.
like that, I think, is a huge piece of advice if we're talking like advice for something like this. Self-investment in education, in whatever that means to you. Like right now I'm doing my master's in filmmaking, but it's a negotiated program, right? So I'm building my final project. So I'm not like, no one's putting me in a box. I'm building my, whatever, my box, and like using that. That's a weird analogy, but you know what I'm saying?
I'm building my box.
Or like I'm doing a speaking program, like I'm investing in myself because I know that will return. Your savings for that year that you took a leap in YouTube, that was you self-investing, and it returns far greater than any stock 99% of the times.
Totally.
My friend Reda, he just went to a coding school. He spent money taking this like 6-week intensive, and now he got hired to teach there, and he's like already doubled his money, and he's gonna keep making more. It's like
I really believe that. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm playing the long game here, so we'll see what happens over the long term. But yeah, any personal investment has led to bigger returns than any investment I've made in the stock market.
What a concept.
Yeah.
I don't feel like people talk about that enough. Like self-investment is one of the greatest forms of investment, and that could be education, could be in whatever, like utensils, cameras, the gear. But I do think the skills, like the knowledge right? Like gaining the skills to turn nothing into something is the best version of self-investment.
Totally. So do you feel like, because you're doing that right now, you're doing the film studies, speech, you're always investing in things, but was that more so because you're seeing storms brewing next year, or this is just a general, like, this is how I approach all life, good times and bad? You're the ant.
I'm the ant. I will never sway. I don't look at things emotionally. I do, like, a lot of things are emotional in my life, but not work.
Right.
Work to me, or like financial habits, are never emotional. It's always just consistent, because shit's gonna be good sometimes and then shit's gonna be bad sometimes, but I'm gonna stay even keel, keep my head down and work. And in fact, I think I'm investing in myself more this year than I have ever in the past.
Interesting. How did that happen? Yeah.
Because I've like kind of achieved what I wanted with my skill set. So I was like, I need new skills if I want to achieve the next level, which means new investments in my knowledge, in my skills, in my network.
That's so exciting.
Which is really dope, because I feel like, especially when you graduate university, or if you don't even go to university, the culture that we're living in society-wise, it's not really geared about, we're not talking about self-investment.
Totally. Like, wouldn't that be an incredible class in high school? Man.
Self-investment, dude. Like, I think that's the takeaway for me in this entrepreneurial path, or like talking about money. All the things that we've made, it's been because of self-investment.
Yeah.
We haven't learned this shit in school.
Totally.
But now, like, we can take programs and step outside of our comfort zone and whatever, throw ourselves into new groups of people. That's also a form of self-investment.
Totally. Yeah, none of this stuff's accidental, in my opinion. I mean, I got obsessive about watching tutorials on YouTube or whatever, and boom, all of a sudden that's a skill now that I can get work, for, or whatever.
And it's free. Like,
and then that leads
so
to this,
much
and that leads to that, and whatever.
of that is free. A lot of the stuff,
totally.
like the main things, I was just telling you, like, I did this job for free. Like, I was on a board of a nonprofit, doing it for free because I believed in it, and then it turns into something. It's just, I guess, like, being an active participant in your life, like recession or not, doing some research, looking up videos, emailing people, like throwing yourself into life will usually return.
But spending also is not a bad idea. I mean, if you see a course that from your favorite, like, photographer, maybe you're interested in doing, like, food photography or whatever, and there's a food photographer that you're obsessed with, and they have a course.
If you go to a club, like I have a journaling club, or you could do, like, I went to a writing workshop, or even the speakers training that I did, you are in a pool of people that are now going to know you, that are going to become a part of your network, and, like, their knowledge becomes your knowledge. Like, when I went to that writer's workshop, it was so crazy. I was around these really smart people, and I had to pay a lot of money to be there, but it was like, you're investing in that.
Did you feel like it wasn't worth it?
No, I felt like it was absolutely
so
worth it.
There was no doubts?
There was absolutely zero doubts, because those people are now lifelong mentors, and how much more can I gain from that than the money that I spent going there? Like, those relationships and that knowledge of those people who are smarter than you, better at what they do than you, you cannot quantify that. Because it's like, whenever I have a project, I can now send it to a New York Times bestselling author and be like, hey, can you take a look?
Yeah.
If I hadn't spent the money to go to that workshop, I wouldn't have had that relationship.
Even if you're like, God, I don't know what the next step is, like, just trying shit out. And I actually think there's a tremendous amount of opportunity when shit hits the fan. It's like, people get freaked out or whatever, and that opens up things, opportunities, doorways for you to leap into.
Right. With a creative eye. I mean, look at COVID, for instance. Like, it was terrible for so many people, but how many new businesses popped up?
Yeah.
How many new ideas came out of that? How many new companies were born? Like, that's how Joka was born.
Yeah.
It was literally from that. Well, so again, this is how the graph is of the stock market.
Yeah.
Financial times have always gone up and down, but over the course of the lifetime of the financial institutions on Earth, shit's gone up.
Yeah.
But when it dips, everybody panics.
Yeah.
Of course, there's survival. Like, if you don't have enough money to eat, like, that's something else. That's another conversation on its own.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about, like, I'm going to pull all my money out of the market, you're going to act emotionally.
Yeah.
And you're going to take yourself off the long course. It's a long game. This is a long game. This is not a short-term sprint.
No.
So if you act like the formiga, the ant, I think overall you're going to fare pretty well in life financially and with other stuff too. Be the ant, I think, is the bottom line here.
That's a great analogy.